Learning about cars for beginners, part 1, front wheel drive. This is the majority of vehicles you see on the road today. This means the front wheels of your car are the only ones being powered by the engine. One of the major pros of front wheel drive is that the vehicle typically receives better fuel economy because it's lighter. It is also safer in inclement weather. However, these cars are prone to understeering. Understeer is when the front wheels are turned in a direction and the car still plows straight through the turn as if the wheels weren't turned at all. This happens more on front wheel drive because the car has most of the weight on the front wheels. Don't fret, this can be alleviated by proper throttle control or easing on and off the throttle, and also upgrading your car with thicker sway bars. Follow for more. Welcome to Rockers Drives Club, where I'm going to take you from car novice to car enthusiast. I've compiled all of my learning about car videos into this one, except for the car terminologies video, which I'll be posting shortly. So make sure you hit the subscribe button and the notification bell so you won't miss out on that. These videos are made to be simple in order to help people that know little to nothing about cars. That being said, if there's anything you want to learn, make sure you comment down below and I'll make sure to make a more in-depth video about it. Help us keep making these videos by checking out our merch and using the 20% off code DRIVE. Learning about cars for beginners, part 2. Rear-wheel drive means that only the rear wheels are being powered by the engine via a spinny thing in the middle called the drive shaft. This makes for a better balanced car. That's because unlike front-wheel drive, weight is distributed more evenly. And because the weight is evenly distributed, the car is less likely to lose control in the corners. This brings us to the cons of having rear-wheel drive. Because the rear wheels are being powered, too much acceleration can cause the car to lose control or cause oversteer. Oversteer is when the back end of the car kicks out and causes the car to lose control unless it's corrected. These cars are more likely to crash in inclement weather unless equipped with correct tires. Most sports cars and muscle cars come with summer tires, which are very unsafe in rain. But here are the pros of having this setup. You get to do what enthusiasts call drifting. Drifting, for lack of better terms, is a controlled slide that is possible only in rear-wheel drive and all-wheel drive. When drag racing, this setup is beneficial at high-end speeds because they are usually lighter than all-wheel drive cars. In canyon runs and road racing, this setup is also good, but can lose control when pushed too hard. Follow for more. Learning about cars for beginners, part 3. If you're enjoying these car videos, follow for more so we can build an amazing car community and keep teaching you how to become a spirited driver safely. And if I forget anything, let me know in the comments and I'll go more into depth in another video. If there was a God mode for cars, it would be all-wheel drive. All-wheel drive means that all 4 wheels are being powered by the engine. However, there's usually a power split or a percentage of power being distributed through both axles. Let me give you an example. I drive a Volvo S60 T6 that is all-wheel drive. The power split is 90-10, which means that 90% of the power goes to the front wheels and only 10 goes to the rear. This is what's called front-biased all-wheel drive. When it detects loss of traction in the front, the computer sends more power to the back. However, in more performance-oriented all-wheel drive cars, power split could be 40-60, which means 40% gets sent to the front and 60% gets sent to the rear. The only other way to drift an all-wheel drive car is by having high horsepower, enough to break traction on all 4 wheels, or by going sliding in the snow, dirt, mud, or rain. Otherwise, you'll break something else. Because all 4 wheels are being powered, loss of traction is highly unlikely, which makes it harder to crash or lose control. This is also a benefit when drag racing from a dig. Why? Because most, if not all, tires are getting grip. The car just goes. A good set of tires will always be most important when it comes to performance and spirited driving. Drivers that live in regions with heavy seasonal weather, like rain and snow, will find that all-wheel drive provides better traction on roads affected by inclement weather. However, there's cons to all-wheel drive, and that includes there's more parts, and with more parts, there's more things that can break. And then there's more weight to add to the car, so there's less fuel economy. But the fact of the matter is, you can push all-wheel drive cars harder in the corners than most other platforms. But none of that matters without driver mods. Follow for more. Did that make sense to you? If so, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you won't miss any new videos. Learning about cars for beginners, part 4. Why you can't properly drift front-wheel drive cars. Front-wheel drive cars are more prone to understeer, which occurs when you lose traction in the front. Rear-wheel drive cars are more susceptible to oversteer, which is when you lose traction in the rear. Drifting is simply controlled oversteer. This is controlled because the rear wheels are providing ample power to keep that slide controlled and going. In front-wheel drive, you can have brief oversteer, which is called lift-off oversteer, but no way to naturally keep it going, which is why it's not drifting. Being that the front is heavier in front-wheel drive cars, momentum and laws of physics will always make the car pull back straight. Lift-off or snap oversteer happens when the car corners at high speeds. Due to the shifting in weight from the rear to the front wheels and the friction between the tires, the road can't provide enough grip and traction through the turn. For this reason, the car begins to slide. Cars for Beginners, Part 5, Engines. Let me know what engine you guys are rocking in the comments. And unless you're a Flintstone or something, or drive electric cars, you probably have an engine in your car. Depending on that car, you may have a rotary, a 3-cylinder, 4-cylinder, 5-cylinder, 6-cylinder, 8-cylinder, 10-cylinder, 12-cylinder, or very unlikely a 16-cylinder. What do all these numbers mean? In layman's, a cylinder is a vital part of the engine. It's a chamber where fuel is combusted and power is generated. Those numbers let you know how many cylinders that your car has. These numbers change the sound of the car as well. Each of these engines are different in sizes and have different layouts. Most common engines are V's and inline, also known as straight. But there's also boxer engines and W layouts, which are essentially just two V's working together. Usually there's two V6s to make a W12 and two V8s to make a W16. Can you guess what car uses the W16 in the comments? The most common types of engines you'll see are V8s, V6s, straight 4s, straight 6, and a little bit more rare are straight 5s. You can also get these engines as NA or naturally aspirated and forced induction, which we'll talk about in Part 6. Learning about cars for beginners, Part 6, Forced Induction. Naturally aspirated engines are internal combustion engines, in which air intake depends solely on atmospheric pressure and does not have any air being forced in. Forced induction is used to artificially increase the density of the air intake in order to make more power efficiently. There's two main types of forced induction: turbochargers and superchargers. Within these two are many options to choose from, such as twin scroll and biturbos, and twin screw and centrifugal superchargers, but that's not important right now. What you guys want to know is which sounds like what. Well, turbochargers usually sound like a turbine or airplane while idling and accelerating, and as you let off the accelerator, your ears have a gasm due to a blow-off or a recirculating valve. Meanwhile, your typical supercharger would sound like Becky when she doesn't get her pumpkin spice. Constant whining. Which is better, you ask? Depends on your car, your taste, and the way you drive. Superchargers are efficient at lower RPMs. Meanwhile, turbochargers are more efficient with higher RPMs. Have you ever wondered why you heard people say they have a 6-speed or a 5-speed and didn't know what they meant? Well, we're learning about cars for beginners. Part 7, Transmissions. The number generally means how many gears a car has, and in most cases, it's relating to manual transmissions. However, automatics are still classified under that term as well. For example, a 10-speed that's in Mustangs, but if you hear 5-speed or a 6-speed, it's usually in relation to a manual transmission. What do gears do? Simply put, first gear provides the most acceleration but the least potential for speed, while higher gears like 5th and 6th provides the least pulling power but allows the greatest range of speed. Most cars start from first to their last gear, and automatic transmission shifts gears, automatically, except for reverse and the parking gear, whereas a manual transmission needs a driver to decide when to shift gears. My name is Matt, and this is the Drivers Club. Learning about cars for beginners. Oil changes. Your engine is pretty much a bunch of moving metal parts rubbing against each other. And in order to keep these parts from breaking and overheating and wearing down too fast, oil lubricates those moving parts. However, the oil needs replacing so that it can continue to do its job. Oil changes, depending on your vehicle, are mandatory every few thousand miles. There's different types of oil, but the most common ones are conventional oil, synthetic oil, and synthetic blend. Conventional oil is the cheapest but least protected for your engine. This oil lasts roughly 3,000 miles. Full synthetic. This is one of the best oils you can get for your car. Amongst other things, it's designed to make your car run longer. This type of oil lasts longer as well, usually around 7,500 to 15,000 miles. This oil usually costs more, but is certainly worth it. Then we have synthetic blend. This, in a way, is a blend of conventional and synthetic oil. This is mainly beneficial for econo cars since they usually use conventional oil. This oil is cheaper than full synthetic, but significantly better than conventional oil. It usually lasts around 5,000 to 7,500 miles. Oil changes are relatively simple and cheap to do if you're willing to go into your car. Most car guys, depending on how much they love their car, change their oil more frequently since we continuously beat on our cars, as higher RPMs wears out your oil faster. Learning about cars for beginners. Tires. Some car owners just throw any kind of tire on their car and go about their day. But depending on the car and the kind of driving that you do, that mistake can make you hydroplane. Hydroplaning is when there's a layer of water between your tire and the road. This makes your car lose control if you panic or overreact. The simplest way to fix this is by slowing down. Fun fact, the grooves or squiggly lines on your tires are made to help water escape when it's raining. Tires, as I mentioned in my dictionary, are very important for your car. Depending on the type of driving that you do, here are the different types of tires and their benefits. Again, this is for cars, and if you're unsure, just check your owner's manual. For cars, there are 5 main types of tires. There's probably more, but those are not important right now. We have all-season tires. All-season tires are great for most situations. When it comes to driving on the road, they're the most comfortable and have decent traction, and they have decent handling as well. Don't expect to beat any autocross times or anything with these tires though. They're good for rainy and dry services only. I would not recommend taking these tires off-road. All-season tires usually have an S rating. That means if your car came with these tires from the factory, or when it was built, it is most likely limited to 112 miles per hour. And if it's not, I would not take these tires over that speed. The way to check your speed rating is by looking at your tires and finding the corresponding letter and using this chart. Touring tires. Touring tires are ideal for those that want the benefits of all-season tires, plus a little bit of extra handling performance. These tires also have a higher speed rating of 130 miles per hour. Summer tires. Summer tires are geared for performance in both wet and dry conditions, but are not designed for all-season traction. They're primarily for warm weather and deliver excellent traction. I made a mistake saying these tires weren't good in the rain. They are. However, they are not good for cooler weather, which can cause you to lose control easily unless the tires are warmed up. For example, when it rains in Florida and the temperature drops, these tires become less effective. I would avoid using these tires in winter weather. Track tires. This partially includes drag radials as well, but we're mainly talking about track tires. Competition or track tires are similar to street performance tires, being that they are designed to deliver amazing performance and traction off the line. These tires provide constant road contact in dry conditions, but I would not recommend using these tires on the street, because if it spontaneously rains, it'll be harder to control your car. Do you find yourself wondering what brake horsepower and wheel horsepower is? Well, today we're learning about cars for beginners. Part 8. Brake horsepower, or just horsepower, is the output that the engine is making before any powertrain loss. This is what most dealers and brochure enthusiasts flaunt. You will also hear crank horsepower. Wheel horsepower is the output that makes it from the engine to the wheels that are being powered. This number generally will be 10 to 15% lower than the brake horsepower. Few manufacturers actually underrate their horsepower, one being BMW. Check out our car term dictionary playlist if some of these words are foreign to you. Learning about cars for beginners. Things you can do to test your car's limits that are better, safer, and more fun than takeovers. Autocross, drift events, and track days. The number one excuse I hear from people that do takeovers is that the track is too expensive, but it's realistically no more expensive than going to jail or getting your car impounded, or worse, ruining the car scene for everyone. If you want to know how they ruin the car scene, I'll make a video about it. Drift events are amazing because it teaches you car control. Yes, donuts is a part of car control, but that's it. Just part. Drift events will also teach you how to transition and use throttle control. The number one misconception is thinking that you need a lot of horsepower to drift. You don't. Autocross. Autocross is an amazing way to really push the limits of not only your car, but yourself. And I feel like it will humble a lot of people, but will increase their driving confidence. Track days. Track days is where you can literally race your car on a track, but with some rules. But for the most part, you get to race your car alongside other drivers. These are all good ways to get started in the motorsport world. And if you want to see me racing on the track, comment Rocker Motorsport.